Guys, look at me. I'm going. Look at this.
I'm
1v2ing them, guys.
Phantom no flash, Phantom no flash.
Volley flash.
Volley flash. Phantom no flash.
Volley no flash. Volley.
If I can get.
No flash, no flash. Victor.
Oh, sorry. No, good.
I'm just Eing bot side.
Nice, good job. Go ahead. Volley. Volley is dead. Go for it. I give you speed. No break.
E5. Bend W.
Ruble on both side, okay? Yeah. Okay, let's get Nash and attack him.
Welcome back to the LEC ahead of our second series of the day. We're all vibing whenever this song comes up. I love it. It is chaos indeed in the LEC, and as we were seeing the win moment from BDS, I actually want to talk about BDS Academy's roster from 2024 because guys, with Keduii joining the league, the entire roster is in the LEC now. Took a bit of time, but they're finally here, and I just want to reflect on how successful this roster was because I remember interviewing them when they won EMEA Masters. I was expecting to see all of them in the LEC the year after that.
Now, and of course, you can see the various teams that they've ended up on. All of these players have put in a hell of a lot of work across different ERLs, different teams. Of course, they all kind of like culminated together into this roster. You know, I remember Paris on the Istanbul Wildcats. Of course, Scumon's been about the place too. I cast him way back in the UK scene back in 2022. All of them had a long journey which culminated in this.
Yeah, and I think when you look back at last year, this was just the team to look at in ERLs. They were just dominating all the ERLs. They were dominating EMEA Masters, and really coming into the league, the expectations were high on a lot of these players. And I think we've seen some ups and downs from different. I think Genax and Reeker, for example, have struggled a bit more, while Scumon and Paris, I think, have had a bit of a smoother transition to LEC. And I'm really curious to see how Keduii does, because a lot of eyes are on him. But I think he was one of the really strong parts about why BDS Academy was good, because I think his aggressiveness and his willingness to go for plays is something that I really admire.
I would challenge your opinions though on Scumon, who had, I feel like, a difficult start to the LEC, but I feel like within the G2 environment, he found his groove, he found his place, he found Mundo as well, as we saw earlier this week. And I feel like Paris, I see the potential. For me, it's still at this potential state. So looking at Keduii, who's joining SK, who are in a really difficult situation when you put things in perspective when it comes to Winter, what is the hope for this player? Because we've been seeing him for years now in ERL. It's finally his time to shine.
He's won 3 different ERLs, I think. Prime League, LVP, and then LFL as well. He's been around an awful lot of time. And it's an incredible achievement individually for him. And I'm very happy with him as an individual. He's someone that looks up to Upset. I was speaking to Hanavai, who's a bit of a super fan of ERLs, and they were telling me about some of the trivia. He was known as the Prince of Prime League. Now he gets to play against Upset as well. But on an individual gameplay level, hype is great, storylines are great, the gameplay will be difficult, SK is struggling.
Finn, what do you have to focus on as a player, as an up-and-coming player, joining a struggling organization?
I think when you're joining a struggling organization, it's important to focus on what are your strengths. Don't try to be like this generic player that comes into this league. Do what you did well in NRLs and build upon that. I want to see him keep doing what was working for him in NRL, and I don't want to see him try to do everything. I want to see him do a few things really good, and then he can expand on that. But I want to see the foundation. I want to see the individual talent that he's bringing to the league.
Trial by fire here, as he's going to face off against Upset and Mikyx, maybe 2 of the most experienced players we have in the LEC, staying true to himself. That's the advice that we can give him. But lucky for us, we heard from the man himself as Shox caught up with him ahead of this series in the Marriott Bonvoy pre-game check-in.
Finally, Keduii is in the LEC, and for people who are not aware of the lore Keduii, do you want to kind of explain how far you've come and how long it's taken for you to get here?
I mean, I started playing professionally in 2018. And ever since then, I kind of played in all various national leagues, like Germany, France, and Spain. And finally, last year, I managed to win EU Masters, or so-called the EMEA Masters, with BDS. And yeah, I thought afterwards I would get my ticket to LEC, but it took me a bit longer. But now for Spring Split, I'm finally here.
It's awesome. There's an awesome video also from your team that is on X about all these German legends wishing you congratulations and that you finally made it. Now, the reality of playing in a team can sometimes be different than what you had imagined. And I say that because SK had a difficult winter, so I can only imagine that it would be, there'd be quite a lot of stress to really perform. So how do you make sure that you have that excitement to make it happen, but also that you have to function within the system that is SK?
I mean, first of all, I just want to enjoy everything here. I'm obviously aware that SK had some issues in winter, and I think the changes that they did now are pretty good, I would say. Like, obviously I'm a bit biased to it.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe the start can be a bit rougher than the usual LEC start for some teams. But I'm very confident that we will just grow from time to time, and maybe today we can already show what we learned.
What do you think about the first matchup, though? Fnatic is not exactly an easy opponent.
Yeah, when I heard about the schedule, playing Fnatic first game is obviously kind of hard, but I think it's also just very good because we'll go into those games with knowing that maybe we might not be the favorites from the people, but I just think if we play our own game, we can actually easily win those games, and that's just what we will try to do.
Okay, herzlichen Glückwunsch.
Dankeschön.
Freue mich schon. All right, back to you.
We will see how SK are able to play today. Obviously, 2 new players on that roster, Boukada and Keduii coming in. It's going to be a very intriguing proposition for them because Fnatic look pretty strong on day 1.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an uphill battle. I don't think it's unfair to say that Fnatic are the expected winners here, but I think that kind of takes a lot of the burden off of SK, and especially when you've got 2 new players coming in. Yes, it's tough to go up against Fnatic, but not having to put those expectations on yourself to overperform, just being able to play your game, I think will help them out quite a bit here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think, obviously, every best of 3 does matter. It's single round robin, so if you can pick up a win against a team like Fnatic, huge for the end of the split, especially when only our top 6 teams are qualifying, not our top 8 as usually. But we have 7 weeks still left of the regular season, or 6 weeks after today, I guess, right?
Yeah.
For Fnatic, I think things look pretty clean. They won the second game against Giant X. They did fall behind and then were able to pick up that really good team fight. But overall, I think things seem to continue the way you expected them to for Fnatic in a regular season.
Yeah, it kind of still feels like the same Fnatic. It's, hey, we're going to try and have a strong early game playing off of Razork, and then once we get to that mid game, it's Upset goes to the mid lane, and we just play him as an offshoot. We're just going to play out towards those side lanes, try to play for Oscarinin, try to play for Humanoid. It's kind of what you've come to expect from a mid game in Fnatic, but just because you expect it doesn't mean it's easy to stop, right? And I think that's where Fnatic have found that success. Oh.
I'm so trying to look as suave as possible. Oh, no. No. I'm not sure we're ready for that upset. I'm sorry. As the players are getting ready to come out onto the stage to take us into our final best of 3 for the weekend. Fnatic versus SK. SK obviously really struggled in winter. Will the changes be enough for them? And for Fnatic, the question is, now, like regular season, we know they're good, and we expect them to be good, but they need to continue carrying. Humanoid and Rico almost missed the fist bump there. Needs to continue carrying that form into the playoffs as well. Obviously, still a long way to go before we get there, but for now, Fnatic trying to take the learnings they've had from Duffman over the last couple of weeks and continue having strong mid games and powerful early games as they have for the entirety of 2025.
Yeah, and I think that will take time to kind of see that come into fruition in the mid game. I mean, even we had Grabs on Euphoria and he said, you know what, if I don't hammer home the same thing for 4 weeks, it immediately goes out of the minds of the players. So Duffman might have a bit of an uphill battle if Grabs' sayings are true, but I do think having him on the back line is going to help them massively.
I think I saw a Duffman tweet saying on day 1, what they saw was, remember when Humanoid took 2 towers mid while they were playing around a dragon, and they separated the teams out? That was Duffman. Apparently that's the sort of thing he's been teaching them, not just playing for one objective, being like, how can we play multiple things at the same time while, you know, gaining pressure against the enemy team. So it does seem like some of that learning is going in. Grabs tweeted before this game, because of the first best of 3, just make this one quick, Fnatic, one way or the other. So I'm hoping we get an explosive series. I'm hoping we get a lot of action. We'll see if SK can live up to the hype.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an uphill battle. The biggest issue for them is just how quick Fnatic can be in the early stages. I think Razork has been very strong at taking over a game from the early points and then being able to set up for his team for success. We even saw it against Giant X, like a lot of plays around the mid lane to get Humanoid into a position he's comfortable. So I think this is where, as SK, you're going to have to try and find some way to shut down that early game of Fnatic.
Let's see if they can do it in the draft phase. So far we've seen, if I recall correctly, Kalista banned in every game so far. Hasn't been picked at all. Naafiri banned most games, but not played when it has been let through. I think Razork would be very happy to get his hands on something like the Naafiri if it is allowed open by SK, who are starting on the blue side. They'll remove the Poppy and the Vi. Skarner taken away by Fnatic.
Yeah, this is what I was going to say, is that it feels really difficult now to ban away a lot of these top tier junglers because you've got Skarner, you've got Vi, you've got Maokai, now you've got Naafiri that's automatically for this there. And then you're also looking at things like Sejuani that can still do relatively well. So Maokai or Naafiri is going to slip its way through the draft, and I think it's just a question of if SK are comfortable enough to go towards the Naafiri. We've seen a lot of teams haven't actually prioritized her, and with the Gwen gone, I feel like that jungle pick has to be the priority here.
Boukada did play a few of those like more aggressive junglers from time to time. I'm seeing obviously a lot of Maokai in his match history, a lot of Vi and Sejuani, but also Viego Shin. He can be on a bit more of a carry, although Shin I guess is more of a zone control tool.
From watching his VODs, I think it's mostly kind of him facilitating the team in a lot of ways, even when he is on those more aggressive picks. So I'm not surprised to see them kind of err away from some of those more, hey, we want to play towards Boukada. He's more of a, I want to try and play for my lanes kind of guys. So SK going to immediately go towards the Rumble, get themselves some sort of AP as well into that mix. But now, is it the first time we get to see the dog in the rift?
Come on, pick it. Yone and Naafiri! Okay. Double AD to kick us off it. As soon as I saw the Yone, I was like, they're not going to do double AD, but apparently Naafiri is just strong enough to work through it.
But that's what I was thinking as well. And even the last day one against Giant X, we saw that they went for the Yone as almost like a takeaway when you had the AP top lane of the Gwen on the opposite side for Giant X. But then he had the Rumble to fall back to, and Oscarinin got the solo kill on it, looked great, but you don't have that fallback here. So what is the AP option that Fnatic are going to go for? Because you definitely need something, as Jayce is going to be that AD fallback breaker in the middle.
Can of course go AP bot lane, Mel, Victor too, that we have seen a little bit over the last little while. Galio as well, so it might be Yone top, Galio mid with that symbiotic souls.
I think it'll be the Galio top as the answer to the Rumble, right? We got to see the little bits, which is the like AP magic resist and all that kind of stuff. So it'll probably be that, and then it's just a case of like, how heavily do you want to move into that AP damage? Because a lot of the times you're kind of going that more tank build with the Hollow Radiance and that, so you're not a big AP threat, which means that like if I'm Sejuani for Boukada here, I'm just like, oh, I'm just gonna take a bunch of AD and a bunch of armor and should be totally fine.
But if the game is quick, you can't get enough armor to stop the Naafiri just, you know, gobbling you up, nomming down. The big changes to Naafiri, by the way, her W now gives you untargetability, which is the major thing that we've seen. You also get a few more pack mates as the game goes on and can refresh those pack mates in a bunch of different ways. Naafiri, a dog champion that's followed around by dogs. Dog, not in the sense that she's bad, but in the sense that she's actually a very good pupper. We'll see how effective she can be in this game because hasn't been picked so far in the LEC and is widely regarded as the S-tier jungler on the patch.
It's also just the fact when you dive a tower, if you hit W, immediately the tower resets onto the pack mates. So you can just drop it. It's basically an OP Maokai W because you're also just dealing a ton of damage as you go through it as well. So it's really, really good when you're looking at the tower dives, and you're already looking at, on Fnatic, a lot of people that are very good when it comes towards tower dives. So I think Fnatic going to try and continue that trend, especially if Mikyx can get his hands on Alistar. This is the one that kind of sticks out in my mind, especially when you, or else the Rakan, because you're already looking at Rel, Leona, so many of these engaged supports already taken away on the bottom side.
Nautilus is the other one that springs to mind when I think about engaged supports on the current patch. SK probably looking for a little bit of poke from their AD here. Ezreal is the one that I would be going, hey, maybe we can play this. Keduii, though, on the Corki will be very comfortable as well. Does give you the poke. The Nautilus likely to be stolen away by them as well, as Loopy will lock that in. So now Fnatic are going a little bit further down that pool of engaged supports.
I think it will just be the Alistar. The Alistar can work well in, you can buffer the pulverize, so then when you get hooked by the Nautilus, you can get the knock up, so Nautilus can't get the follow-up auto attack, and you're still just very tanky when you get to level 6 and kind of outpace in the support matchup there when it comes towards tankiness and all-in engages. So I imagine that's what they'll go for, especially you've already got the Galio, a big Alistar combo, follow up with the Galio, that spells a disaster for SK.
It definitely does. The question is, will SK be able to disengage? You do have some mobility. The Corki obviously can Valkyrie away. Jayce can knock the Alistar backs and gain himself a little bit of ground as well. So we have a bit of poke coming out from SK. Solid team fighting as well. Good, like, front to back. The Jayce obviously adding a little bit more poke. Fnatic on the other side, a little bit more aggressive, I would say, than the SK lineup.
Definitely. I think you've got opportunities to try and play through several different lanes here. The biggest problem, I think, is that you don't actually win it on that mid matchup. So if Boukada can try and match these side lanes plays, I think he's in a relatively good spot, because Alistar, good setup on that bot side. You got Galio, can also set up for plays on the top side for the Naafiri, but you have to make sure that this Sejuani can try and cover those plays so Razork just doesn't end up popping off in this Naafiri early.
And let's get on into the action. SK with their 2 rookies taken to the stage. Keduii, after a long time in the desert, has finally made it to the LEC stage. Boukada coming up as well through the LFL. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm always excited when I see games like this. I'm always excited when I get to see new players in the LEC. It is a monumental task for Game 1 for them to try and take on Fnatic, but you never know. Sometimes people get that sort of honeymoon period as a team. Sometimes you get it just as a player for your first games here.
Yeah, I think it's obviously going to be nervous, especially when you are going up against Fnatic. But again, I think you're in a position where there isn't a huge amount of pressure on you. So maybe that gives you that window of opportunity to pop off. But we're going to have to see as we're locked and loaded to roll into game number 1.
I'll be locked, you be loaded.
And we're both rolling out.
Oh yeah.
Just tumbling, just
rolling as much as we can.
It's just like it's been sunny in Berlin, so I just want to go to a hill and just roll down, you know, just enjoy it.
Yes. Yeah. That's one of those childhood joys that you don't really get to experience as much as an adult.
Yeah.
Why not? Why don't we just roll places?
Well, there's also that place in the UK that does the cheese roll chasing event that also looks like great fun until you break an arm or a leg trying to chase after the cheese.
I feel I'm a little bit too fragile for that these days.
Yeah.
I think there'll be a few broken bones. Humanoid caught out here by Loopy and by Rika. Boukada coming in from the side as well. Keduii trying to get in range. There's the hook. Humanoid might have to burn the flash. Does do so. Loopy flashes for the auto though. Mikyx gave him an express ticket to his mid laner's face, and Loopy happily accepts first blood.
Well, that's a great start for SK. We're kind of saying you don't want no pressure on, but SK already giving it to Fnatic. Great stuff. And unfortunate for Mikyx, that was we've been there. Any Alistar player has been there where you're like, I've got it, and then it's like, oh no, I don't.
Oh, Mikyx, maybe Humanoid, said something unkind in the changing rooms beforehand, the prep rooms. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna get him. Yeah. First blood, obviously going over to Loopy. Not the target you really want, but he has been able to pick up himself up a cloth armor. And because he's Nautilus and takes the dredge line first, you can actually just dredge line to the terrain all the way along. If you hit terrain, the cooldown is greatly reduced. So he's back in lane in time to catch this first wave alongside Keduii. We'll have another look at this, because it is... Oh, Humanoid just face check straight into them. They're waiting.
Also, the fact you managed to get the auto attack as Loopy to keep Humanoid in place means you get the dredge line later on, which works out great. But yeah, Mikyx, that's a little unfortunate. But Loopy now going for a drain bot. But again, the kill going to the Nautilus means it's not overly impactful in the grand scheme of things. I think the biggest one is more so Humanoid doesn't have that flash, so trying to trade aggressively on the wave is going to be much more scary as this Yone.
Yeah, Mikyx doesn't have flash either, obviously flash to knock Loopy back underneath the tower, so neither of the supports having those summoners does make it a little bit harder for them to find the engages in the lane. Rika, though, capitalizing on the fact that Humanoid is melee into his ranged matchup, getting himself about a 2 CS lead after the first couple of waves. It's to be expected. Oscarinin went in and placed a ward, so would spot out if Boukada was on this side of the map. But by spotting the fact the blue was already down, you kind of know Boukada's gone towards the bottom side.
Yeah, and I think the question is, like, what does Boukada want to try and achieve here? Because I think with the wave pushing back in on bot side, you can maybe just look for the cover to keep both Keduii and Loopy safe. Again, I think a lot of this early game for Boukada is just trying to make sure Razork doesn't end up snowballing on this Naafiri, because if you don't end up with these early kills, she oftentimes doesn't have the kill pressure that you really want for the later stages. You've seen a lot of teams like top esports and stuff, like gifting kills over to the Naafiri early just to make sure that she's in a decent spot.
Yeah, but is top esports really what we want to model ourselves on as international players of League of Legends?
Look,
I watched the first Sandro.
You know what, the thing was, this is them domestically, so they're good domestically.
They're good domestically.
Yeah.
Okay,
if they did it internationally, that would be the issue.
Yeah, that would be the issue. They played well internationally, apparently. But SK have a slight early lead here. Do you want to just highlight the new players again? Boukada obviously coming in to SK. That is a placeholder graphic, and that is not... I clicked the Boukada one, obviously coming into SK after this. Did just come off winning the Flash-In tournament, the Flash-In playoffs. Yes. Basically the winter split for the LFL. Did a really good job over there with KCB. Keduii coming up as well was on BK Rock, I think is how you pronounce it. But before that has been around all of the regional leagues, having great performances in all of them. And after he won EML Masters last year, I think a lot of people looked at him as the guy that should be being promoted. Won it with BDSA over Vitality B, but it just obviously wasn't quite his time. And it must be really difficult coming into a team like this where it's like, well, it is my time now, but do I have the team around me? Do I have the players around me that can actually help me shine in this sort of situation?
Especially because when I looked at the way Keduii played, it was kind of just having a very good understanding of what his job on the map at a current point in time is. So you'd see Keduii opening up on mid wave pretty consistently and then saying, hey, I'm going to shove this wave and open up for skirmishes in a side lane with BDS Academy. So I think that's where he... On a team that is struggling, it is much harder to showcase your understanding there because maybe the rest of the map is already falling apart, or your team's not in a position to look for these early skirmishes that kind of were the defining factor of BDSA. So I think that's where Keduii may not be able to shine as much, but still stellar team fighting. So I think that's, at least for SK, if they can get to a point where they are just looking at team fights, maybe they can try and take it against Fnatic.
See if they can. For the moment, though, Honor's relatively even in this early game. A slight gold lead for Loopy because he was able to get that first blood. A slight CS lead in the mid lane for Rika. It's going to be about 10 when this wave is all said and done. I think actually the maths will be 9, assuming he farms all of those up underneath the tower. Genix getting forced back by Oscarinin. This is a matchup we saw BB using a lot back at MSI last year, picking that Galio into the Rumble. You can just negate so much of what he does.
Yeah, the fact you've got that magic resist shield is absolutely great, but even the taunt being able to reduce the amount of damage works well. But we're looking at this dragon. Razork spots that this is going down, but nobody really on the map. They've already kind of reset to move up towards this top side. As Razork going to hover in towards mid. Pac-Mate's going to give away, though, exactly what he's up to.
He let the dogs off the leash for a second, but wasn't able to actually get anything out of it. Yet to see Razork have that more powerful impact on the map. You kind of want level 6. Hound's Pursuit so powerful now because it resets as well when you get kills, so you can just, a bit like a Vexel,
and you're getting the shield as well.
Yeah, and you're getting the shield, just go in, follow up similarly to the Vexel. With his bot lane moving towards top side, it looks like grubs the intention here for Fnatic.
And this is something that we heard the guys on the Analyst talk about at the start of the day. It's kind of shifting out of these poor matchups to make sure that your bot lane's going to be in a decent spot. So they get the early reset, now they can get some pressure on this top side, look for some plates, and even though we have seen lane swaps disappear, like these are kind of the good timers you can look at. Go for the early void grubs, but again, it's like the SK bot lane had already committed to moving back to the bottom side of the map. So now you push in top wave once more, you can actually reset, you can already look at Mikyx going for the reset now, and you can constantly avoid these bad matchups, but Humanoid might need help.
On the wrong side of Rika there, flash hook, flash away from Humanoid. Shock blast just whispers past the back of his head. Couldn't quite connect, but that's Humanoid's flash down once again at the expense of Loopy's. Keduii and Upset are going to meet still up in the top lane. Mikyx's path out towards mid. There's not really too much going to be able to happen on the Rift right now. Upset can just back away as Keduii pushes the wave in. Mikyx's in the mid lane. It looks like he's trying to hold the wave there for Humanoid just to get some more gold into that Yone's pockets. But while he's there showing on the map, it gives Loopy an opportunity to look around and be like, oh, we know where the enemy support is. Can I do something? Even for someone like Genix underneath the tower, he knows he's a bit safer than he could be because Mikyx isn't going to dive him at a moment's notice.
Yeah, it's just a bit unfortunate that you are up against the Boke Varus because with the early Rectics, you're able to so easily clear out these waves from so far away. So it's kind of difficult for Loopy to really make a play on towards Upset, which is ideally what SK would have liked to go for there. But now Mikyx making his way back up towards top side as this wave is going to crash. He's in a good spot, but I do think it opens up potential pushing towards mid, which is where Razork has already kind of made his name here, making sure that he's pushing Rika back and keeping Humanoid safe off a potential roam from that top half of the map into the mid lane.
Rika doing a good job in the mid lane. He's been dodging most of those Q3s coming out from Humanoid. Obviously helps when your enemy laner doesn't have flash to be a bit safer in that lane, but still credit where it's due. He's kept Humanoid well and truly.
Loopy has X-Flash.
Yeah, and Boukada's here as well. Here we go. X-Flash. Hook. Oh! Humanoid unbinds his soul, but immediately it's met by the rest of SK. Nice reactions from Humanoid, but you can see SK know where their bread is buttered. It's mid lane and they're gobbling up that toast.
Yeah, really well done. Again, it's the fact that you have that push in the top side that ends up working out fantastically for them. And this is why I was already kind of saying, I think Upset and Fnatic could have constantly rotated around the map to avoid these matchups where you just don't get that push in your AD carry lane, because it opened up Loopy to move to mid lane, work with Boukada, and again, I mean, 2-0 to SK. They are the team that's playing this early game better right now.
Yeah, they really are. And a lot of that, as you say, has been forcing Humanoid behind, making sure he's burning his flash, really capitalizing on the fact if he doesn't have that fate sealed or he doesn't have that soul unbound, you can just catch him out. Now, Upset and Mikyx being moved into the mid lane. Humanoid's going to be put on side lane duty. Keeps him a little bit safer without those summoners.
Also, the fact you're mid lane behind makes things more difficult for Razork. One of the things that's so good about Naafiri is their ability to get over these walls. You can see just there, the E able to hop over, you can very quickly get in, clear the camp with your double Q and get back out super safely. And you just become this farming machine, but losing the mid lane makes these invades so much more dangerous. But
Boukada's been waiting here for a long time now. Mikyx does have the Unbreakable Will. Goes in, will pop it, still stunned underneath the tower. They engage as well as Razork dives forward. Mikyx with a good punt back will keep himself alive. Razork going in again with the second charge of his ultimate. Now he's caught out. Hero's entrance. He pops at the unstoppable. Rico underneath the tower already. Boukada's got one out of this. And Fnatic are in all sorts of hurt. Boukada gets a double. The tower dive goes all kinds of wrong.
I'm surprised that they end up starting that play off with Mikyx. I assume they go for Razork, try and use that invulnerability to reset the aggro, then let Mikyx pick it up as he had the Unbreakable, but instead, they all in on the cow, and SK, they end up just catching everything down there.
2 kills over to Boukada, who now has that Heartsteel complete as well. Only about 200 gold ahead of Razork, who did manage to pick up a kill with that Hound's Pursuit, but you could see he was very tricky. He was jumping in and out, going untargetable with the Call of the Pack, but as soon as he's out of that untargetability, just CC after CC after CC.
Yeah, as you can see here, they're going to try and go under the tower, but as Mikyx goes in, this timing on the CC was crucial because he pops the Unbreakable to try and deny the damage on the tower, which means as that stun from Boukada comes through, he can't get the knock-up, so it keeps Fnatic underneath the tower that little bit longer. And then as Razork goes for Boukada, the TP from Reeker's here. Oscarinin tries to join in, but they're just so separated across the back of this fight and constantly trying to go underneath the tower, and with Loopy showing up as well, SK just end up using the tower damage plus the numbers showing up to their advantage.
Positioning as well for Upset meant that he just couldn't get any autos down. It wasn't like he was positioning poorly, it's just everyone else was on the other side of the wall because they all jumped in, right? So overall, really good start here for SK. Almost a 2,000 gold lead as Mikyx is caught again. Does still have the flash. Humanoid's waiting around the corner. Mikyx has to burn the flash to get away. Keduii collapsing from the top side as well as Loopy is still going for this chase. Those hounds behind Naafiri will stop Loopy from finding a follow-up engage, because if you dredge line, you're just going to hit a hound. But for the moment, SK gain control of the bot side of River, and with it, their second dragon of the game, only 11.5 minutes in.
Yeah, and they end up dropping the Void Grubs. They got one on top to move down into this position to cover, so they get the Dragon. Should be in a position as well to try and move up towards this top side if they want to too. So I think for SK, pretty good stuff at the moment, and a significantly better start than I think a lot of people were expecting to come in. Boukada's been in a ton of places where he needs to be. Loopy as well, having great roams around the map. The jungle support's been working out great for SK.
Yeah, it really has. I think a lot of people did question, like, the switching up of SK's bot lane where it was Rahel and Loopy together, and it's like, well, you brought Loopy in specifically because he had played with Rahel. Would Loopy be able to team up firstly with a new jungler, but also with a new AD carry? It seems to be working well so far. Obviously, only 12 minutes into the game as Razork's caught out a little bit here by Rika, just trying to steal away these Krugs. Boukada is on his way across, but I think the Krugs will go over to Razork, who eviscerates them. Beyblades forward, spins in, takes the rest of those little ones, and Boukada here to cover his mid laner and his support.
It's a nice timing window from Fnatic to move down, because you can see Keduii being super low on health and man in the mid lane, so he has to reset, which allows Upset to lean down, so you always end up with that numbers advantage. It nets a little bit more gold for Humanoid, who is kind of desperate for that gold at this stage, but with it now Fnatic needing to reset and Keduii back on the map, SK are able to push back out and get played for themselves as well. So again, SK answering really well to what Fnatic are doing.
You go for the dive here. Luke is looking for Humanoid with the Fate Unbound. Jumps back in, but is just knocked back. There's a TP behind as SK will notice that Oscarinin's on his way, but so is Janax, and he's just completed Leandri's. Oscarinin knocked back, stunned up, and he's burnt to an absolute crisp. SK have a barbecue going as Razork jumps in with a Hound's Pursuit, trying to get on Keduii. There's the untargetability as well, but Keduii's able to clear out the minions in time, and with the rest of SK on their way across, Razork backs out.
With that play though, Razork might have netted at least some damage on the mid lane turret. The SK answer on the bottom side, but they kind of need to shift someone in here. Keduii's so low, has the barrier available, so just going to try and clear these out with Loopy now, but you can see that damage from Upset still a little worrisome if you get it too much onto him.
I think that Yumu's movement speed was what saved Upset there. It was just able to get out of range of the dredge line. Did still have the flash on the cleanse, so also Keduii was so low, you don't really want to go for it. Equalizer used on the wave here means that Mikyx can't find an avenue to approach that fight. Razork's going to get forced out of the back of the pit, and it will be 4 grubs over to 2. I think SK invested a little bit too much in the bot side, so weren't able to even that out at 3 apiece. And importantly as well, if they had managed to get all 3 of that second spawn, they would actually have the feats of war already complete, because they have got 2 dragons. The grubs would be their 3rd camp, and they got the first 3 kills of the game as well.
Yeah, I don't mind the way SK played it though.
Yeah.
They end up like they did one Void Grub, dropped it to secure the second dragon, and then obviously we had those plays on the bottom side that they answered for well. So in the grand scheme of things, I think SK have been playing this super effectively, and now they're no. And I think in this position, it's like, hey, we've got good poke that can come through from FLICKR. We have good team fight setup, so playing for those dragons is going to be really, really good. And with Humanoid a step behind already, I really don't think he's going to hit his item breakpoints that he would like to before these like third and fourth dragons end up spawning. So I think for SK playing more towards this bottom side at the moment makes a ton of sense.
It definitely does. The key carries from Fnatic's first couple of games, Oscarinin, I would say, Upset as well, had a really good series actually, and even Humanoid had a really good couple of games against Giant X. Have not found the early leads that they found against Giant X. 400 gold lead for Gen X, 500 gold lead for Rika. Now, Humanoid has been camped, but you got to camp someone sometimes. And then Keduii saying even with Upset, actually about 150 gold ahead. It's a very, very solid start here for SK. They're 2,000 gold ahead. Mid-game often causes woes for the lower placed teams in the LEC. We'll see if SK can actually use this lead and take the game away from Fnatic now.
Yeah, and I think the question marks become the side lanes, right? Because even we were talking about at the start of this was, hey, Fnatic love to try and play for side lanes. They're about to play around Humanoid. Does FLICKR overextend? Has to force the flash. And these are the moments that now you're going to start to look, okay, can Fnatic punish again? Your side lane Jayce has no flash. They can always look to try and revisit that, or on the opposite side, look towards Gen X. And Boukada and Loopy are doing a decent job of trying to play where they expect Fnatic to be, but they misjudged here, tried to play on bottom side, and Razork gets the flash on top side.
40 seconds as well before the next dragon. SK will want to secure that. There's a Rift Herald as well available. Razork looks like he's just going to eviscerate around the vision there from the Scuttle Crab that SK previously took, and with his bot lane he will head towards the bottom side of the map, get some deep vision in around that red buff, and then can play for the dragon. Rika does have TP, has the Spear of Sojourn already complete, as well as 320 stacks on his tier.
I think the fact though that you don't have Rika with flash and you're also down the Rift Herald makes it really difficult for you to try and contest on towards this Mountain Dragon. The ability to take down mid tower. Oh,
Rika's just TPing. Razork almost caught out. Depth charge is going to land on him over the wall there. Gen X still chasing Oscarinin. Mikyx going in, immediately down to half HP. Humanoid coming in from the side as well, but doesn't have that bait seal. No ultimate for him. Dredgeline, Hero's entrance. Mikyx's already down. SK just back away. And without Rika and Gen X, really, they've already picked up one kill. Now they have the Dragon secure as well. SK are going to be on soul point 17 minutes in with a 2,000 gold lead over Fnatic.
I can't believe SK made that work. I was about to say, Fnatic have a target in an upcoming fight. You go towards Rika, even with the flashes available on Mikyx, and just try and win out the fight by taking out the SK mid laner. But SK, TP down, they get the kill, they get a tower. They got a ton off of that.
Like, I'm gobsmacked, I'm flabbergasted.
I'm thrilled. This is
It's
sick.
amazing. But like,
this is so cool.
It's shocking to see the Fnatic from like last split and also the Fnatic from day one be pushed this far behind in the early game by a team that many people were putting at least bottom two, if not last in the league.
But I think it's the fact that SK are playing the map incredibly well. And like, oh, hang on.
Bakuda's fine.
Yeah, but it's like, it's not the fact that I'm like thrilled to see Fnatic behind. It's the fact that I'm thrilled to see SK stepping up in this way.
100%.
Boukada is playing incredibly well around. Hey, where is the position on the map I need to be? Loopy syncing up really well, and now Oscarinin's caught as well.
He's going to get the aftershock proc. Dredgeline will slow him down into the staggering blows. The chase continues. Gen X has the equalizer here. Oscarinin trying to get away from the harpoons. The equalizer going to be used. There's another Dredgeline. Equalizer comes out. Oscar has to flash. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, we saw Boukada getting chased out of his own jungle by Razork and co. The tower will go over to Fnatic, but SK already secured the first one of the game.
Yeah, you can see the resets on top side, so SK aren't going to try and trade the objectives, which I think is a bit of a mistake. They could have tried to stick around for that top side tower and gone for a bit of a trade, although it is quite healthy. But at this stage, looking more, it seems like just trying to get control over this map somewhat. But even then, like, you're still in a very good spot. You're about to get 2 items across the board coming up towards a potential Mountain Soul in 3.5 minutes. I think at this stage for SK, holding on to this mid lane tower now becomes key, because if you can just play off of mid lane into river at basically any point in time, it makes contesting this next Mountain Soul potential crucial.
And we see something we talked about in draft starting to materialize on the scoreboard as well. Have a look down here. It's all plated steel caps. It's all armor being built for SK. The only AP threat really is Oscarinin. He's gone that Hollow Radiance build, now has the Haunting Guise, but isn't going to be doing too much magic damage in these fights as of yet. SK in a commanding position in the game. We'll take the Rift out as well. Oscar up in 30 seconds time. The next Drake 3 minutes away still, but SK, they're just going to start to look at these towers. Like, do we need Rift Tower for top? No, we can play 4 players up towards that. Fnatic aren't answering. Mikyx down towards the bottom side with Humanoid, giving him some safety, trying to get him towards 2 items. Razork is on his way across. I wonder if SK... They're not going to dive Oscar in. It's a little bit too greedy. Razork was here in time to defend.
Yeah, they know that Humanoid has no TP yet, so they're trying to play the top side, but Mickey's done a really smart job of moving down here for Genex.
Genex does have the flash. Mickey goes in. Q3 knock him into the face, sealed already. Genex very low, flashes away, gets the scrap shield, needs to clear out these minions as well. Humanoid tanking the tower is not what they wanted. Genex still has the equalizer, won't use it on the wave. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, SK begin to open up with that Rift Herald. Upset can clear the wave, but the Herald will charge in and take the mid tier 1. On the bot side, Humanoid and Mickey backing away means that SK do get an unanswered turret in the end.
Yeah, Genex not going down was a big frustration point for Fnatic there. They're not able to get the turret, they don't get the kill, and then they're losing out on this mid wave as well. If they'd managed to get bot tower, they might have been a little bit healthier to start to rotate like Humanoid towards mid, protect these sort of mid lane plays, but unfortunately not going to be the case for Fnatic fans. And now SK moving Boukada down here as well just to cover the push and make sure Fnatic have to disengage.
Getting control of this bot side jungle, your own and the enemies over the next 90 seconds or so vital for SK. You have a Mountain Drake coming up, Utterkun's there as well, it's Soul for you. There's always an argument when you're looking at Soul fights to say, oh, we can just play the other side of the map, get the Baron. Baron's not up for 4 minutes time, so really all of the action going to be around this bottom side unless SK think they can get a couple of towers on a different portion of the map.
The problem is there's so much vision here for Fnatic that hasn't been cleared out, and if you're looking for a potential TP flank for Oscarinin, you're in a phenomenal spot. So for SK, it is crucial now to try and get some of this vision out of here, but I just don't think they're going to be able to do it in the next 50 seconds.
It's a really easy step to skip as well, because you're like, we're on the front foot. Fnatic, yes, they pushed into our jungle a little bit, but their vision's not going to be there. We'll go and get vision control further into their side of the map. You can see superficial wards placed into that Fnatic jungle. Often you don't use your sweepers deep in your own jungle because you don't think about the vision that's going to be there. Boukada will spot out one of the wards. A couple of control wards going down from SK as well. So they are denying some of this vision. Genex about to recall from top lane. Will have the TP if a fight does materialize.
Mickey placing that ward though can destroy the ward that was deep in the bush of SK. So now it's only just this limited view that Fnatic have.
Next flash forward by Mickey, immediately Dredge lined up, he goes in for the engage, Oscarinin looking for it as well as Razork dives very deep, the hero's entrance for the follow-up of Loopy and Rika have to flash away, Boukada coming in with the Glacial Prism, Genex not here for the fight, Boukada doing so much work as Humanoid's forced away as is Razork, Keduii will take him, Oscarinin now running for the hills alongside Mickey and Upset, but Oscar will not escape the depths of the jungle, SK find 2, Dragon available to them, no jungler on Fnatic.
Fnatic went so deep, but they just couldn't get the kills as quickly as they'd like. SK managing to scramble back into the fight and come out on top. That's going to be Mountain Soul in game number 1 for SK.
What a performance from SK. Boukada 4-0-3 on this Sejuani. Rika having a stormer of a game as well. And it's not just Mountain Drake, it is Utterkan alongside it. It is Baron up in 2 minutes time. SK all at 2 items as well. You can see Fnatic getting there. But Oscarinin is still a little bit behind. Humanoid trying to find what he can on the top side of the map because it is only a 2,000 gold difference, but Mountain Soul obviously going to add, especially when you have such a single type of damage focused composition as Fnatic's.
Yeah, it's definitely making it tough, and you can kind of see here, they think that they've split up SK, right? You've got Rumble in the mid lane, so they think, okay, let's go on towards Loopy. We can try and take this fight on the bottom side, but the Galio doesn't really catch the people that they want to. Humanoid has gone for the soul and down, but doesn't really get the damage he wants. He ends up having to pop back out. And at this stage, Razork has gone down. Genex is now able to get in a position to follow up. And it means that then for Fnatic, the damage dealers that they need are never really in a position to get that damage off. Whereas SK, like Keduii's been in a great spot.
We're cooked. Oscarinin says it best. Genex cooking them with the Flame Splitter. SK cooking them on the Rift. 24 minutes in now with Mountain Soul in their pocket. SK, we talked about can they play through the mid game? Well, first few steps are good. Secure the soul, gain control over the gold lead, make sure you're in a good position generally. Now can they play it from here on out? Because Fnatic are a team that will punish you if you overstep, that will punish you if you make a few mistakes. Can you do it by the numbers? Because when you're starting to split across the map like this, it can become a little bit more challenging to be coordinated as a team.
And I think that's kind of what we haven't seen from SK in this game so far, right? A huge amount of the way they played has actually been punish Fnatic as they play for a side lane, punish Fnatic as they overstep. Now they're the ones that are fully in the driver's seat and have to try and answer somewhere on the map, and at the moment they have lost control of this bot side jungle, which is why you see Loopy trying to move down here with FLICKR, who had to take a much longer path to try and protect the bot lane. But at the moment it's still kind of defensive on the side of SK. You can see it's Fnatic who are still controlling the tempo, but SK need to get control of that if they're going to try and close out this game.
Kind of want to be on the front foot, and it can be hard to take that foot and have a nice wallop into the enemy's backside at times. You really want to be as aggressive as possible, especially when you have a lead like this. But also SK do scale well, mostly because Fnatic have predominantly physical damage on their side. So Boukada already has the Randuins and the Heartsteel. Is only going to get tankier. Look at that 350 armor, Rob, on this Sejuani. Obviously that's with the passive that you get if you haven't taken damage in your jungle, but so strong right now.
Yeah, it's insane. But at the moment, at least for Fnatic, their biggest issue is, what's working well for Fnatic is that SK haven't really gotten their lanes to push in at a similar time, right? We've kind of seen a push on boss, and now they're starting to set up a push on top lane. But it's already been answered by Humanoid. He's now creating pressure on the spot side. Now Genex is resetting to answer for for Humanoid in the bottom lane, but it means that Fnatic are constantly able to match wherever SK are putting their aggression. So SK haven't really cracked anything just yet, and if SK do end up stepping aside or not coming in as a group, it does give that moment to Fnatic to come back.
Part of the way you can do that is force the enemy to play around an objective like the Baron. Obviously, Fnatic could say, well, Razork try and steal it. He can jump in and out with that Eviscerate, and if there's a Blast Cone there, obviously can go in with that initially. But if Fnatic do decide to take the fight, then SK have to play the fight, obviously, well, as the Baron is also wailing away upon them. Razork looking to see if anything's happening here. Baron hasn't been begun, but you can see SK denying the vision well around this top side for now.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is that they just haven't shifted FLICKR up towards this top side. You can basically set Boukada up into this bush just here, and then keep him safe and kind of act as the central ward to prevent Fnatic from coming through. You have Keduii push in mid, and then you're able to get control over this top side. But right now, you can see they just don't really have the vision control that they need to try and set up any deep wards, and the waves just aren't really putting pressure onto Fnatic. Upset is just able to clear them out so easily, being this poke power split.
What have we got, SK? Well, we've got Keduii pushing out mid. We've got Rika going to catch that top wave. Fnatic are using Oscarinin, Razork, and Mikyx together to try and gain control of their own jungle once again. Humanoid is at 2.5 items now. That Yone will scale into the game. Obviously, talked about it a little bit, but mitigated by the fact that SK can just go for that armor build. You can see Zhonya's on its way for Genex as well. The plated steel cap upgrade's actually more powerful than usual in a game like this. Very strong for SK if they can find them. But it is hard sometimes to pull the trigger in a situation like this. They're obviously a little bit tentative. Elder Dragon is about to spawn in a minute's time as well, so the longer the delay, the more points of pressure there are on the map for them to have to think about. And SK haven't been in this position much this year. Like they went 1-8 in the first regular season. I don't think they were ever close to beating like some of the top level teams. So the question for them now is, can you take this with 2 new players and actually put the nail in the coffin for Fnatic?
I think the fact you have the Mountain Soul is going to help out massively for this next fight, but it's still difficult for SK to try and get control. They're trying to use Baron now to bait the rest of Fnatic up into this top side. 30 seconds until Elder Dragon. They realize they have no control bot, so let's play for top side.
Genex not with the team right now. Fnatic are beginning to step forward here. Boukada just keeping the Baron aggro. Now it's the Hounds doing so. Genex goes in for Mikyx. Unbreakable Will is popped. That's a big ultimate down for the next while as SK use the fact they have Mikyx down at half HP. Now we'll step down towards this bottom side. 11 seconds before the Elder Drake. They don't have a huge amount of vision control around this. Razork is the one to step forward, but Humanoid upset and Oscarinin off towards that top side bush. Taking the Scuttle Crab, obviously very strong as Mikyx has to flash away as well. Fnatic will be playing a man down. Oscarinin going in, but a good dredge line from Loopy stops him in his tracks. The Justice Punch was met with a verdict of guilty as SK turn their eyes towards the Elder. Now Fnatic could go mid-prio into Baron, just try and pull SK around the map, and that's exactly what they're doing right now as Keduii and Boukada are sticking on the Elder. Oscarinin down to half HP, Mikyx on his way back out of base. Depth Judge gonna land onto Razork. Loopy flashes to the staggering blows, lands the hook as well, and Keduii jumps across to shut down Razork. No chance of a steal anymore as SK do their due diligence, kill off the enemy jungler, and now we'll secure the Elder. Janex flashes forward, Hero's entrance popped as well from Oscarinin to save his AD carry. And that was Janex on his lonesome, just flashing in with an Electro Harpoon. Huge from SK though, the Elder Dragon secured.
Yeah, Janex feeling himself there, doesn't quite get the kill, but still, SK, beautiful stuff on the play. They move over towards the Baron to draw Fnatic out of their comfort zone where they kind of set up in this bottom side. They re-establish themselves in River, they catch Mikyx out, and even here, it's good damage from Janex, but the hook from Loopy means Fnatic can't even really look for the re-engage. And at this stage, Fnatic are just looking for the steal on the Elder Dragon, or maybe they can get some pressure mid. Reeker stepped up to try and clear out the wave with the accelerated shock blast, but can't really get it. But Loopy ults Razork, and then watch the ult from Janex here, completely cuts off the rest of Fnatic. So everyone on SK can just jump on towards Razork and finish him off. It's such high value out of these ultimates and these abilities that don't net kills, but they just net control of areas.
It's super patient as well. It's really easy when you see a fight like that to be like, oh, well, we're getting the Elder, we can just go for this fight towards mid lane as well. But they're patient about it, they back up a little bit. Janex puts the equalizer down, Razork is cooked.
He's gone. He's gone. No,
He's gone. There's the Elder. A final little bit of a blowtorch to kill him off in the end. Boukada on the chase here as well. Well, perhaps we've seen why we don't see Naafiri, Dagda. One game played, one loss, and that's the sample size we needed here in the LEC. SK 6,000 gold ahead, Soul, Elder, and Baron for the next 2.5 minutes. Fnatic left just bouncing off the ropes onto the mats. SK have dominated them.
And now they're just going to continue this push forward. Fnatic trying desperately to hold on to the midway, but SK are coming in.
The hook again onto Humanoid. Look at the damage immediately. Humanoid trying to get away from this one, but Boukada is having none of it. The Elder lasers coming in, and SK, that was demolition. It's 13-2. Where was this SK in winter? Where were you hiding them?
Well, apparently they were in the NFL because Boukada and Keduii joined the roster. They command the early game, shutting down Fnatic. And just like that, SK take down Fnatic in game number 1.
Fnatic are very happy we have best of threes back in the LEC right now. Because otherwise, we're like, SK best team in the league, guys. Maybe the best team in the league. But no, incredible performance from SK. Obviously for Fnatic, like, go back to the drawing board, find out what stuck, what didn't work at all, and see if you can adapt things, because we talked a lot about the drafts and we talked a lot about this heavy physical focus from Fnatic. That wasn't really the problem. It didn't help them, but SK did just outplay them in the early game.
Yeah, I 100% agree, but enough from us. I want to hear what the AD has to say about that one.
I don't know. I'm shocked. I'm speechless. Honestly, nothing but congratulations to SK. It's not only that they take down Fnatic, it's that they smash Fnatic. Es tut mir leid, SK. I was not familiar with your game. Rookie's coming in strong, honestly, in this game.
This was convincing. Wow,
yeah,
what a game from SK. Really showing their colors here, showing that there's something to be excited about in this new line.
For SK to respond to a situation like this, where quite frankly, Fnatic are super disrespectful. This is a mixture of SK completely showing up, and Fnatic kind of, yeah, I'm just going to say that shitting the bed a little bit here in this situation.
I'm glad you say it, because now I don't have to. I agree that Fnatic played really bad this game. They gave them a lot of opportunities, but it's one thing giving the enemy opportunities, Finn. It's another thing seizing them, keeping that lead, snowballing that lead, and actually finishing the game and winning the game, especially for a roster that is introducing 2 newer players and that was struggling so hard in winter.
Yeah, what shocked
completely
me,
night and day.
What shocked me is not the laning phase. What shocked me is not the micro decisions. What shocked me is how cleanly they snowballed this game.
Yeah.
That was very convincing. They properly set up dragon after dragon, caught out Fnatic when they were disrespectful, and just played for these easy win conditions that all teams in our league can, but a lot of them seem to struggle with. Really, really impressive that they actually showed so much determination and prowess in this field so early with this roster.
Also because the identity seems so clear already of this team, and they already had a very good game plan in terms of like, we're just snowballing on the dragons, which of course has been the name of the game in the meta so far in the LEC, but it's the fact that SK just executed on it so perfectly.
they did it once. Can they do it again? Is that we will see after the break. But I'm sorry, guys, we cannot leave you like this because we have been talking for the past 2 days about the dog, about this hot dog that was supposed to revolutionize the league. A hot dog that was coming in clutch after a rework. Naafiri was beyond useless this game, and I really want to understand why. Please, Nymaera, talk us through this.
Thank you, Laure. We have spent the entire weekend waiting for this dog to show her face. I'm a hot dog, she's a hot dog. Let's talk about why and how this champion is meant to be good, and how even with the power of Naafiri, Fnatic couldn't win this game. Right, let's have a talk about Naafiri, even though it might be hard to take me seriously dressed up like this, and why she is on the Rift here in the LEC. The first thing you have to know is that Naafiri got the Diana treatment, the Tahm Kench treatment. She had a regular ability changed with her ultimate, which meant that she ended up having her intargetability on her new W coming through, making her so survivable. But that's not the only thing. A new build came with it as well. If you look at every single one of these items, they give her survivability, they give her HP, and it really makes this champion into an unstoppable killing machine with extra defenses beyond what you'd consider normal. It's really kind of scary. So, what this all comes together as with all of this stuff is a couple of important picks. We talked about that W and the ultimate changing. This is the biggest thing that I can show you. Naafiri has a Fizz E on her W. That is not okay in League of Legends. If you cast a Vi ult, if you cast an Ambassador ult on this champion, that's what happens. And then what Naafiri gets to do is a lot of stupid stuff. If she hits you with two Qs, she heals. If she gets those 2 hits, she gets an Eclipse, she gets her Triumph, and she gets to reset on her ultimate, which for some reason gives her a shield. This is how the Naafiri is meant to be played. And in fact, I'll show you another clip in pro play of how this champion is meant to be played. Kanavi, yes, you might have seen him interbid at first stand. He came back regionally, and he did unspeakable things over to OMG. This champion is meant to be really good, really survivable, a ton of damage, and even though she's an AD assassin, somehow managed to walk away with every play with more HP than she left it. This champion is stupid. We won't see her again this weekend. I'm very sad, but we've waited this long to see it. I had to talk about the champion. Look, we were... Thank you for the consolation, hot dog. I've been shouting so much, my voice is getting husky. We'll catch up with Fnatic and SK after the break. Get me out of this goddamn costume.
Needs a map.
Wait, I'll take care of this.
Laure, be careful. That thing belongs in a museum.
What is this?
Wow, that escalated quickly. What do we do now?
Let's have a break.
Have a break. Have a Kit Kat.
How do we get out?
Like this. Say it.
What about me?
Red Bull gives you wings.
Welcome to Marriott Bonvoy. Where can we take you?
From Berlin to the finals, Marriott Bonvoy will be your check-in at every checkpoint. Discover over 30 hotel brands here and around the world. Marriott Bonvoy, a check-in at every checkpoint.